Zelin regretted leaving the girl next door behind, but fortunately, an accident made him dream back to the eve of the college entrance examination, giving him the opportunity to make up for his regret. In this life, I will never be a childhood sweetheart again. What if the scumbag's attributes cannot be changed and he can't resist teasing Qin Shiqing again? Then stay away from her. At this time, Qin Shiqing had not yet fallen in love with me. She revealed some college entrance exam questions to help her secure admission to Qinbei, while I went to Linen. From then on, let's all be well together. The plan was perfect, but 2 months later, Zelin was stunned by the prominent words, Zhejiang University, on his childhood sweetheart's admission letter. Qin Shiqing, are you a pig? You couldn't even go to Qinbei. A scumbag's mentality explodes. Sorry, I miscalculated the score. The girl in the bright sunshine pursed her lips and chuckled lightly, her rosy cherry lips forming a playful curve. Keywords of the novel. In this life, I am no longer a scumbag with my childhood sweetheart. No pop-ups. In this life, I am no longer a scumbag with my childhood sweetheart. Chapter 1. Before the college entrance examination, goodbye to childhood sweethearts. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 1. Before the college entrance examination, goodbye to childhood sweethearts. Shanghai, a Greek holiday, is a high-end bar located in the bustling business district of the Bund. At midnight, the rainstorm poured in, but it did not damage the atmosphere of the night frenzy in any way. Amidst the deafening DJ, a pair of handsome men and beautiful women twisted their bodies wildly, indulging in debauchery, and the air was filled with a strong smell of hormones. Zelin sat expressionlessly in a VIP card seat, holding a Fujian mountain residence in his mouth, staring blankly at his companions who had been playing with him. He doesn't have a seductive interest, tonight is just a bit of a business gathering. Xiangfeng pounced on his face, and a female internet celebrity who was slightly famous on Douyin sat quietly beside him. She painted delicate makeup, dark purple eyeshadow was deeply drawn, red lips were in flames, long legs wrapped in black stockings under the hip wrap skirt bloomed silently under the flashing laser light. Mr. Su, it's nice to meet you tonight. Let's have another drink. The female internet celebrity had a charming gaze and raised her crystal cup in a coquettish voice. The Lafite wine in the glass becomes increasingly crimson and blood red against the bright nail art, bringing a strong visual impact. This young CEO is the famous Diamond King in the circle. He is young and promising, with a majestic appearance, a tall and upright figure, and a handsome man. He is the ideal object that many women dream of. Zelin gave her a faint glance. The beauty value of female internet celebrities is quite good, and with good dressing skills, the overall score can reach 85 or above. With his rich experience of indulging in flowers, if he is willing, this woman can be taken away tonight. However, Zelin politely refused, "No, miss, I have something to do tomorrow morning." The female online celebrity didn't give up. She was half next to Zelin, intentionally or unintentionally, and her hot body floated a strong fragrance of perfume. "Mr. Su, can we do tomorrow's work tomorrow? Tonight, I think we should be busy with something else, such as having fun at the right time." She was almost half lying on Zelin's shoulder, exhaling like a orchid. Zelin frowned and looked at the heavily make-up snake spirit face, feeling a deep sense of weariness in his heart for no reason. "Sorry, it's a bit stuffy. I'll go out and take a breath." Unknowingly pushing away the hand holding the crystal cup, he stood up tall, separated from the densely packed guests, and walked straight out of the bar, leaving only an awkward female internet celebrity on her face. Outside, the rainstorm is pouring, the thunder and lightning are thundering, the boundless darkness is like a huge beast with its mouth open, and the neon lights of the city are dim under its influence. The air was not as turbid anymore, but Zelin's face sank like water as he gazed into the distance, his mood becoming increasingly gloomy, and his chest seemed to be suppressed by an invisible boulder. A few years ago, on a rainy night like this, Qin Shiqing found herself on several boats. She turned her head and rushed into the rainstorm recklessly and never came back. Walking corpses walked out of the road, letting raindrops as big as beans hit their faces. It's a bit cold. Not long after, his whole body was already soaked, but he was completely unaware. Boom! A thunderbolt suddenly exploded not far away, and Zelin woke up as if from a dream. He was inexplicably angry and raised his middle finger towards the low sky, saying, "Grass Nima, you have the kind to chop labor to death." As soon as the words fell, another strong white light fell from the sky. Without bias, it hit him right on the spot. At the last moment before losing consciousness, Zelin suddenly remembered the poisonous oath he had once made. "Qin Shiqing, if I disappoint you, teach the heavens to strike with lightning and not die easily." "Zelin, wake up." Zelin lifted his head in a daze. "This is an old classroom. The wooden desk in front of me has been passed down for countless generations, already scratched and mottled. Rows of small characters engraved on the table silently narrate the long history of time. Where there is a will, there is a way. Be sure to get into Qin Bay. Buy Xiaolei, love tiger oil. Good morning. Fraser, I'm angry. Lakers championship, go. Chi la, the iron leaf ceiling fan above the head was spinning quietly, and the bearings, which had been damaged due to their age, occasionally made a piercing noise during high-speed friction. Dozens of gazes coincidentally fell on Zelin, their owners being once familiar but faded green faces from memory. Zelin's eyes were wide open, and his face was filled with disbelief. Isn't this the classroom of Class 2, Grade 3, at Jianglan High School? Am I dreaming? But why is this dream so realistic? He bit his tongue hard. Hiss, it hurts so much. This is not a dream. Did I have to be reborn? On the podium, a female teacher wearing gold-framed glasses had an angry expression on her face. She is the English teacher of Class 2 in Grade 3, but she prefers students to call her English name Lisa. She also looks a bit like Lisa Rong from Love Apartment, with a beautiful face, fashionable attire, and a plump figure, like a ripe peach, full of attraction to these energetic and young boys in the class. Zelin, please read and translate the exercise paragraph I just mentioned. Lisa is furious. She is known for her serious and rigorous teaching, and this student dares to fall asleep in her own classroom. Zelin is also very bold, and Lisa's class is so reckless. Hey, don't tell me, there's nothing else this kid can't do. As the college entrance examination is approaching, doesn't he feel any pressure at all? Everyone was whispering and discussing. A bespectacled man sitting on Zelin's left side with a pale and clean face was filled with a look of schadenfreude. Not fully understanding the situation, Zelin still has a bewildered expression on his face at this moment. Until someone poked him under the desk. This is a black and thin boy, with an inconspicuous appearance and a simple and honest face. He is the kind of guy who can easily throw a piece and turn his head onto the street, hitting several similar types. His high school classmate, his close friend Lu Haoran. The two of them have a deep affection, and their hearts resonate with each other. Seeing the 3 fingers that Lu Haoran had secretly extended, Zelin immediately understood. The third paragraph. There is a wrinkled information question on the desk, and just now Zelin fell asleep lying on it. Quickly found the third paragraph of the reading comprehension, cleared his throat, and Zelin began to recite it with ease. Some people are pessimistic when they think about the future. They said that, a married years from now, we will have used up most of the Earth's resources. After reading it, he casually translated, the meaning of this passage is: some people are pessimistic when considering the future. They say that in 100 years, we will exhaust most of the resources on Earth. Before his rebirth, Zelin's business went overseas and he learned excellent English, achieving an IELTS score of 8.0. In his eyes, high school English is about the same level as elementary school. Listening to Zelin complete the interpretation, Lisa couldn't help but be slightly surprised. This reading comprehension is a bit deep, and it contains many obscure words, but surprisingly, it didn't stump this boy. His translation was perfect, and what surprised the female English teacher even more was that Zelin's American-speaking pronunciation was extremely standard, with natural and smooth intonation, without any bitterness, almost comparable to some beautiful Chinese people she had encountered before. This is not the level that high school students should have. As far as she knows, the boy is just a jerk in the class, lazy in his studies. Although he is intelligent and has a natural talent for English, his grades in this course are only slightly above average. The original intention of punishing this student was not achieved, and the female teacher felt a bit embarrassed. At this moment, Zelin spoke again. "Teacher Lisa, as the college entrance examination is approaching, I have been very anxious and physically and mentally exhausted during this period. I had insomnia last night and couldn't hold on to sleep just now. I'm really sorry." The conversation was still completed in English, giving myself a reason and also giving the female teacher a step down. Lisa was even more shocked. This boy talks confidently, even vocabulary and morphology that never appeared in high school English textbooks can be easily found. Others were confused and unaware of it. After a while, Lisa regained her senses and let out a dry cough. On the eve of the college entrance examination, many people are mentally anxious and it is normal for them to have poor sleep quality at night. I hope that Zelin can relax his mind and adjust his schedule well. Zelin showed such an amazing level that she couldn't be any more difficult, so she took the opportunity to step down. "Yes, thank you for Lisa's concern. I will work hard to overcome it." As soon as Zelin sat down, Lu Haran gave him a thumbs up. "Zelin, this kid, has never seen any merit or demerit. He spends 3 days fishing and 2 days sunbathing, just fooling around all day. However, his English is still so good, and a smart person is different." "Mouse, thank you." Zelin nodded slightly at him. "Well, Zelin, the college entrance examination is still over a month away. Why don't you just play a flashlight and read novels in bed at night?" Lu Haran hesitated for a moment and lowered his voice to offer a friendly suggestion. Zelin stayed up late last night, using a flashlight to read an urban novel in his bed. Some of the clips were more ellipsis than words. Lu Haran believes that this is the main culprit of sleeping in the same desk class. Zelin nodded, but his mind was absent-minded. "Well, before the college entrance examination, is there still over a month left? This time point should be early summer in 2000. Zelin quickly made a judgment. Looking up at the countdown to the college entrance examination hanging next to the blackboard, there are still 35 days left. That's right. Before his rebirth, he was the CEO of a large company in Shanghai. Now, he has returned overnight to his pre-liberation days. However, Zelin is indifferent and his heart is filled with joy and excitement. For him, certain people and things are more important than money. Even if you are wealthy, you cannot make up for many regrets. Now I have the opportunity to make up for it." Ringing bells. With the bell ringing, everyone stood up. "Class is over, boys and girls, see you next time. Goodbye, teacher." As soon as the female teacher stepped out of the classroom, the girl in the front seat turned her head. "This is a beautiful face. The oval 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 oval. Oval 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 oval. Oval 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 oval. Sue Zelin, did you really suffer from insomnia last night? The young girl's cherry lips slightly parted, her voice sweet and gentle, as soft as jade, like a gentle breeze passing by in the scorching summer, and her restless heart instantly calmed down. Sue Zelin stared at the young girl with a complex gaze. Qin Shiqing, his neighbor and childhood sweetheart. Before his rebirth, he had scumbagged this girl, leaving her scarred and flawless. Even worse, Sue's father, who had no face to face his old neighbor, cut off his father-son relationship in a fit of anger and refused to interact with him. This is something that makes Sue Zelin regret for life. Since the heavens have given me a second chance, Sue, swear that I will never be inferior to Qin Shiqing again in this life. Sue Zelin thought to himself. But even if he remains faithful and vows to have no other aspirations, it is difficult to compare to reaching the sky. Sue Zelin was born with an extreme thirst for freshness. His yearning for freedom, and rebellious nature were almost ingrained in his bones. It is impossible for him to spend his entire life with only one woman. In his past life, Sue Zelin and Qin Shiqing spent some time together, and he also hoped to work hard to change himself and manage this relationship well. However, that state left him at a loss, coupled with too many temptations around him, like a bunch of delicious fish jumping around the big greedy cat. It was too difficult not to steal the fish, and in the end, he still let down his childhood sweetheart. My temperament will not be completely different due to rebirth. If I try again, I may still be unable to control myself. Let's do the same thing again. However, there are other ways to deal with Qin Shiqing. That's to keep her away from me, this scumbag. Sue Zelin quickly had an idea in his heart. The college entrance examination will be over a month away, and some of the questions I have taken in my past life still leave some impression. As long as you intentionally or unintentionally reveal a little before the exam, with Qin Shiqing's grades, going to the north of the Qin dynasty is steady and reliable. At that time, she and I will be in peace from all over the world, and there will be no more entanglement. Naturally, we won't be able to scum her anymore. However, before that, you must enjoy this period of time well, keep it in mind, and treat it as the most beautiful memory of graduation season. Old authors returning to new books, quality assurance, speed assurance, continuous updates, definitely not without little JJ, please rest assured to collect and read. End of this chapter. Chapter 2. Betting with Qin Shiqing. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 2 Betting with Qin Shiqing. Hello, I'm asking you. Seeing Sue Zelin stunned and speechless, Qin Shiqing furrowed her willow eyebrows and reminded her again. Come on, Shiqing, do you think this guy will be someone who suffers from anxiety and insomnia before the exam? You can't believe such nonsense. Tang Yan, Qin Shiqing's deskmate, had a short hair with slanted bangs and wavy hair. She was a sassy and capable girl, who made a roast. As Qin Shiqing's best sisters and Sue Zelin's sixth-year classmate from junior high school to senior high school, she knows a lot about her childhood sweetheart. Qin Shiqing was also concerned and eager. Taking a few more glances, she found that Sue Zelin's face was rosy and his spirit was energetic, not a bit like that of an insomniac. Sue Zelin, you're really hopeless. The girl's light anger and thin anger also have a unique flavor. Qin Shiqing, why do you love preaching so much? I'm so annoyed. Anyway, there are only a few days left for the college entrance examination, and I'll just be waiting for my life with this score. After tidying up his thoughts and accepting the fact of rebirth, Sue Zelin quickly took on the role and lazily responded. Qin Shiqing felt helpless in her heart. As a childhood sweetheart, she had no interest in studying, and ducks couldn't catch up. She wasted a good brain, and could only hate iron for not turning into steel. Sue Zelin, by the way, your spoken English is not bad. It has a bit of a crooked fruit kernel flavor for movies. I didn't understand the few words you said to Lisa later. Tang Yen spoke out again, in a tone of surprise but also indignant. Why are you so lazy, but your English grades are better than mine? Little swallow, I can't say that. I've also worked hard, okay? Su Zelin gave a ha. Xiaoyanzi is the nickname of Tang Yen, because she has big and round eyes, a sharp personality, and a straightforward heart. Her mouth is like a machine gun, which gives her a bit of a pinkish charm. Of course, considering her appearance, she can only be considered a low-end version. The gangster smirked and said, I often watch foreign language movies at home to learn English. Really, the little swallow is half believing and half doubting. Little swallow, don't listen to his nonsense. Unexpectedly, Qin Shiqing spat and a bright red cloud rose from her white jade-like face. She leaned over to her desk mate and whispered a few words, and then little swallow suddenly realized. Pooh, damn thing, it's terrible. The foreign language films mentioned by Su Zelin are not very serious. Once, Qin Shiqing helped Su Zelin's mother clean the whole house before the Chinese New Year and dug them out under the bedboard in this kid's room. Tang Yen gave Su Zelin a fierce glare. I really don't understand, Shiqing is such a good girl, but childhood sweetheart is a big jerk. Don't worry about any movies, the ones that can improve English are good movies, otherwise how do you think my standard spoken English comes from? Su Zelin straightened his shoulders, his face unchanged. Come on, didn't you just show off a few words of spoken English, and your whole body drifted up? Qin Shiqing couldn't bear to see his proud expression and couldn't help but roll her eyes. Hee, this is called confidence, Qin Shiqing, this week's college entrance exam, the third mock examination, believe that my English score can be higher than yours. Su Zelin's mouth curved with a hint of smile. Qin Shiqing had not yet answered, and the man with white and clean glasses in the left seat couldn't resist. Su Zelin, even you deserve to be compared to Qin Shiqing, and you're not afraid of the wind flashing your tongue. Qin Shiqing is excellent in both character and learning. As a study committee member and English class representative, the second mock examination of the college entrance examination, his English was the first in the school. What about you? The man with glasses looked disdainful all over his face. Zhao Mingxian, class monitor of class 2 in grade 3. Su Zelin is just a scumbag and a jerk, and their relationship with the class monitor is usually not very harmonious. Moreover, as a class flower, Qin Shiqing admires many people, and Zhao Mingxian is one of them. He once expressed his feelings to Qin Shiqing secretly, but unfortunately, he was politely rejected by the other party. On the contrary, Su Zelin and Qin Shiqing were intimately connected, walking very close. Although he knew it was due to the neighbors of the two families, he was still unhappy with the boss. Su Zelin glanced at him calmly and said, Who are you? Are you familiar with me? Am I talking to you? 3 questions and a series of attacks directly suffocated Zhao Mingxian. Su Zelin is just a mouthpiece. He is eloquent, and even Tang Yen has to bow down. How could Zhao Mingxian be his opponent? The man with glasses was so angry that his face turned pale, his body trembled, and he wished he could punch Su Zelin in the face. But with his chest heaving and heaving, he finally managed to hold back this breath. As the class monitor, I can't be as rude as him, humph. More importantly, Zhao Mingxian cannot defeat Su Zelin. This bastard's fighting strength and ferocity have shocked the whole school and are well known. During his freshman year in high school, Su Zelin had a conflict with several senior sports students on the field. He picked out a few opponents and flipped them all over. Since then, he has been walking sideways at number 2 middle school, and no one dares to provoke him. Zhao Mingxuan's refined demeanor may even make Su Zelin lie in bed for half a month without getting up with a single punch, so he relies on himself as the class monitor. In addition, as a city leader, his father only dares to occasionally say hello, and it is absolutely cowardly to take action. Qin Shiqing, just one sentence, dare you bet. If you lose, before the college entrance examination, you have to help me fetch food and water every day. If I lose, it's the same. Su Zelin ignored Zhao Mingxian and instead raised his eyebrows at Qin Shiqing, showing a strong sense of provocation. He didn't plan to stay away from his childhood sweetheart right now. Anyway, he went his separate ways after the college entrance examination, and his attitude towards her suddenly changed, which was not smooth enough. Shiqing, don't gamble with him, it's boring, and this kid will definitely default. Little Swallow didn't want to say anything. Qin Shiqing hesitated for a moment before speaking up, sure, but the bet needs to be changed. If you lose, you have to study hard before the college entrance examination, and you are not allowed to wander in class, let alone sleep. Shiqing, even if you win, it won't benefit you at all. Tang Yan is a bit dizzy, this bet doesn't seem to be worth it to her desk mate no matter what. That's great, it's decided so happily. Su Zelin gave a sly smile, like a little fox. Tang Yan had nothing to say, but Qin Shiqing patted her hand and said, Little Swallow, it's okay. The words were swallowed back, and Tang Yan understood the thoughts of her desk mate. Shiqing only made the bet that won for Su Zelin's benefit, which can be considered as a painstaking effort. There is really no need to worry about anything. Even if Su Zelin blows the bull's hide into the sky, it is impossible for her the third mock examination to suppress her sisters. Thinking of this, she felt relieved and said, Lu Haoran, have you heard me too? Let's be witnesses together, don't let this kid lose and refuse to admit it. Lu Haoran didn't expect himself to be implicated too. Just listen, I believe you are an honest person. You must not be selfish. Let's supervise this kid together. Poor Lu Haoran had not yet expressed any opinion when Tang Yan took off a big hat of honesty. The honest man swallowed his words again, feeling greatly depressed in his heart. Hello, I didn't say anything in the face of the powerful Tang Yan. He did not dare to protest, but could only secretly roast about it. Speaking of which, although this bet between Zelin and Qin Shiqing may be a bit self-deprecating, it's not a bad thing to make him concentrate in class in the future. Lu Haoran finally nodded. Later, he lowered his voice and said, Zelin, do you really have any foreign language blockbusters that are very useful for learning spoken English? When will you show me? Su Zelin was amused by him. Hey, you're such a cutie. Okay, come to my house sometime and remember to bring your bag, Vida. Just watching a movie, why do you need to wear tissues? Is it because the movie is very touching? The morning class has ended, and many people are still staying in the classroom. As the college entrance examination approaches, hard-working students will work overtime and make the most of their lunch time. Su Zelin never left immediately for the first time. If it were in the past, he would definitely be the first person to fly to the cafeteria to fetch food. But he didn't stay in the classroom to work hard. With just over a month left, there won't be a qualitative leap in grades, and Su Zelin doesn't care about it either. Getting into a good university is not just about making money. After being reborn, he has countless ways to make money. Even in his previous life, without a forward-looking vision for rebirth, Su Zelin could have achieved financial freedom, so money is not a problem at all. By the way, he had already experienced the extravagant life of wine and meat, luxury cars and yachts, and singing every night. He had long been tired of it. Compared to others, he cherishes and enjoys today's campus life more. More importantly, Qin Shiqing is also here, right beside him, not out of reach. After class, childhood sweethearts and swallows chatted and laughed casually. I don't know what interesting thing we talked about. The girl covered her mouth and smiled, her beautiful eyes narrowed into crescent moon, and a smile seemed to overflow from her beautiful pupils. At this moment, her smile was so bright and sweet, pure as a white rose growing on the wilderness, showing her freedom and happiness heartlessly in the sunshine. This kind of situation only occurs in dreams before rebirth. Regret is a bookmark of youth, always sandwiched between the most painful page in memory. Zelin's nose couldn't help but slightly sour. Looking at the beautiful figure in front, his gaze was soft and firm. I will never harm Qin Shiqing again in this life. In the classroom, Zelin stayed until the cafeteria was about to close, then picked up his lunch box and left with Lu Haran in a leisurely manner. Qin Shiqing and Tang Yen looked at each other, unable to believe their own eyes. This is too rare. Has the sun come out from the west? The little swallow murmured to herself. Qin Shiqing is also very strange. She has known Zelin since childhood, and this is not a childhood sweetheart's personality. But she didn't think much either, she just thought that the bastard was just on a whim today, occasionally doing it. Stepping out of the teaching building, Zelin slowly paced down the school road. A gentle breeze mixed with the fragrance of grass and trees rushed towards me, and laughter and joy echoed in my ears. Everything around me was filled with a vibrant vitality, which was the taste of youth. My lost youth has returned. Zelin took a deep breath and then slowly exhaled. This feeling is really good. Zelin, aren't you stimulated by something? Lu Haran is very worried. Today's friend is a bit abnormal. First, I made a bet with Qin Shiqing to compare my the third mock examination English performance, and then I stayed so long at noon to go to dinner. This is not the same desk mate as the bastard he knows. What can stimulate people like me? Zelin leaned on his shoulder and asked in reverse. That's right. Lu Haran nodded in agreement. With his thick-skinned and cynical nature as a friend, little Cute couldn't believe that something could suddenly change his mindset. Quickly arriving at the cafeteria, there were not many people who could cook, and soon they were lined up. Big sister, come on, I'm starving today. Zelin has a playful and smiling face. You have a lot of things to do, kid. The cafeteria lady chattered incessantly, but the sound of the elder sister made her feel ecstatic. Not only did her hand not shake, but she also added half a spoonful of meat. Zelin's mouth is too oily. Everyone else orders their meals according to the rules, but when he speaks, he is always the older sister. Over the course of 3 years, all the cafeteria aunties have remembered this face. The cafeteria lady doesn't care if you are a good student or not, they don't know either. Anyway, they think this guy is sweet and sensible, and Zelin is also very pleasing. Therefore, for the same set meal, his meals always have more portions than others. Sometimes the lady even accidentally adds an extra egg or a sausage, which is not her own money. Watching Zelin's lunchbox filled with 2 meat and 2 vegetables, Lu Haran fell into contemplation. This special cat is also okay. Although he and Zelin have a good relationship, their meal time is parallel and they almost never intersect. This is the first time they have seen such a vulgar routine. So he also decided to give it a try. Big, big, big. Looking at the wrinkled face in the shop window, the honest man Lu Haran found it a bit difficult to speak up and stuttered for a while before spitting out those 2 words. Big sister. The cafeteria lady withdrew her smile, took the lunch box with a stern face, and not only did she not take more than half a spoon when serving, but her hands shook even more violently than usual. The main issue was that Lu Haran's call from the elder sister was not smooth and natural enough, and he didn't have any sincerity at first, which could not be seen with his mother's sharp eyes. Besides, Lu Haran looked like a bookworm and didn't look as likable as Zelin, so this flattery was done at the horse's feet, which had the opposite effect. Looking at the pitiful food in his lunchbox, Lu Haran felt like crying without tears. He walked out of the team and came to Zelin's side, spitting bitterly. Zelin, why did I also call big sister, but instead give less food? Mouse, you're so stupid. Zelin hates iron for not turning into steel. He asked, did you look into her eyes when you called her big sister, did you have a smile on your face, and did you do it all in one go? The soul's three-questioning combo confused Lu Haoran. He instinctively shook his head and said in a daze, what does it matter? Of course it does matter. Su Zelin patiently explained. The elder sister eats more salt than you eat rice. Such a greaseball can tell at a glance that you are insincere and too hypocritical. People think that your elder sister's voice is ironic, so they can be happy. Can they order more food for you? Lu Haoran wiped his sweat and said, I'll go. There's still this kind of attention, I've been taught. Also, the ones I just mentioned are just the most basic ones. You just called out, while I called out for 3 years. The saying goes, sincerity leads to gold and stone. Understand? Besides, you are missing the most important point and are destined to fail the operation. Which point? You're not as handsome as me. Lu Haoran was stunned, he didn't expect that even the shouting elder sister had so much profound knowledge. Little Cute ultimately gave up the decision to continue trying this kind of sleazy routine next time. Su Zealand's operation was something he couldn't replicate, and the most basic first step was something that Lu Haoran thought he couldn't do. Round IQ, honest people cannot compare to Su Zelin. Luan emotional intelligence and face have been thrown away for thousands of miles. Forget it, let's share some with you. Su Zelin picked up the lunch box and set out the dishes for Lu Haoran. Anyway, his little meat was abundant and every meal was so rich. Ah, Zelin, no need. Don't talk nonsense, I can't eat that much. End of this chapter. Chapter 3. You can get full marks in English, I call you Dad. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3. You can get full marks in English, I call you Dad. That night, Su Zelin really had insomnia. He dared not sleep, afraid that he would wake up tomorrow morning and realize that his experience today was just a dream. If this is a dream, let it last a little longer. There is a guy grinding his teeth in the dormitory, and another guy snoring, singing and harmonizing. Su Zelin stayed up in the middle of the night with his eyes open, unable to hold on any longer, and finally fell asleep in a daze. The next morning, just as dawn broke in the sky, Su Zelin opened his eyes amidst the piercing bell. He breathed a long sigh of relief when he found himself still lying on the wooden bed in the dormitory. He quickly got up, washed himself up, put on his sportswear, and headed straight to the mountaintop sports stadium. Although Su Zelin is lazy in his studies, he is passionate about sports. Dumbbells and arm strength sticks are prepared in the dormitory, and we can practice at any time when we have free time every day. Besides, the body is the capital of revolution. Even as a scumbag, a good physique is indispensable. Otherwise, dealing with so many women would have caused my body to collapse long ago. In his past life, Su Zelin was able to indulge in flowers and was full of energy and effortless, because he had a natural talent for physical fitness since childhood and was accustomed to fitness. This good habit was retained even after graduation. There are already quite a few people at the sports stadium in the early morning. There aren't many different styles of sportswear for this event yet, and many people just use school uniforms as sportswear. As for sports shoes, there is almost a uniform rebound, occasionally mixed with a few pairs of double stars. Su Zelin, dressed in Li Ning, stands out among the crowd in the sports field, but in this era, there was no concept of a famous brand. I ran for a while on the playground in the morning, and it was time to do morning exercises. I returned to my class's team. I did the 8th set of radio gymnastics in high school. Some people take things very seriously, while others perfunctory. The act of twisting one's buttocks when it comes, and some people are so twisted that they can't let go after completing 2 sets of radio gymnastics, the team dispersed like birds and beasts. Lunch boxes are placed everywhere outside the playground, with grass, tree branches, low walls, large rocks. Every stitch in the hole can be seen everywhere. The owners of these lunch boxes are students who like to save time, so they don't have to go back to the dormitory after morning exercises and can head straight to the cafeteria. Class 2, Grade 3, Classroom. At the end of the morning class, Zelin leaned back on his chair in a state of boredom. A hero's pen danced and spun rapidly between his fingers, turning left, right, up, and down, as if playing magic. Turning the pen is one of the few pleasures that many middle school students have in the classroom, and Zelin is skilled in this and plays very well. Tang Yen secretly turned her head and glanced at him several times, intentionally or unintentionally, with her spare light. Finally, Zelin couldn't help it anymore. When Tang Yen turned his head again, he casually asked, "Little Swallow, what are you always looking at me for? If you want to confess, just say it directly. There won't be a chance after graduation." "Pooh, the dog is going to confess to you." "Zelin, did you take the wrong medicine? You left after class these past 2 days." Tang Yen was puzzled. If Zelin had stayed in the classroom once after school, it would have been fine. However, for 2 consecutive days, she had been doing this for lunch, evening, and evening self-study, which made her a bit uncomfortable. Zelin patted the table and said, "Little Swallow, how could you say that? Can't I just be a bit ambitious? Self-motivated?" "Zelin, does this word exist in your dictionary?" Tang Yen sneered. She had been studying with the bastard for 6 years, and believing his lies was like an idiot. She can be certain that Zelin's abnormality in the past few days has nothing to do with that bet, because although Zelin stays in the classroom after class, he has nothing to do. For example, this afternoon after school, he has been flipping his pen and hasn't even opened his books and exercises. Watching the hero pen flip up and down in Zelin's hand without falling, Tang Yen couldn't help but shake her head. It has to be said that this jerk has exceptional talent. As long as he is interested in something, he can almost master it at once. For example, when he turns his pen, there is no one in the class who is smoother than him. His motor nerves are well developed, and he is almost omnipotent in running, jumping, and playing ball. He is even very energetic when fighting, and he plays the guitar well. He can dance breakdancing and fly high, making him a regular at campus cultural evenings. As for the aspect of appearance, it is widely recognized that it can make all the boys in the school envious and jealous. God almost opened every window for him, but closed the door to learning. Zelin has no interest in learning and is lazy, but even so, he was still able to squeeze into the prestigious old high school of second middle school in the middle school entrance examination. Zelin, you need to learn to have the drive to play with the pen, even Shiqing may not be as good as you. Tang Yen said with regret. Learning is too boring, there's no fun in turning a pen. Besides, turning a pen is also a form of exercise. Exercise what? Finger flexibility is very important, Little Swallow, you will understand when you grow up. Zelin has a profound meaning. Go to hell, a dog's mouth won't spit out ivory. Tang Yen is not a little white flower, she understood it all at once. She is also a girl with a fierce mouth, but she has no way to deal with Zelin. Tang Yen turned away angrily and said, "Shiqing, look at him. He's just a scoundrel." Qin Shiqing's gaze was drawn back from the English materials. She attached great importance to this bet and has been mainly focused on reviewing this course for the past 2 days. Little Swallow, what's the real difference between you and him? It's not the first day we met. Qin Shiqing felt a bit helpless. That's right, arguing with this kid makes me seem narrow-minded. Tang Yen convinced herself. Zelin glanced at her and sympathetically said, "It's already quite small." "Bastard, what did you say?" Tang Yen just took a breath and instantly broke through the defense again. "I always feel that Zelin's words have a different meaning. She is not as developed as Qin Shiqing, which is quite concerning. If it were someone else, perhaps it wasn't that kind of meaning, but she was certain that Zelin was, because the tone and expression of this guy's words were cheap. Lu Haoran shrank his neck. No one else in the class dared to provoke Tang Yen like this. My desk mate had the courage and often did such things. If it were for me, I would have been scolded by Xiao Yanzi's sharp mouth so badly. Moreover, Su Zelin constantly stimulates Little Swallow, and it is surprising that his relationship has not yet broken down. Jiyu occasionally said a few good words, flattered her, or invited her to have a soda. Soon, Xiao Yanzi could pretend that nothing had happened, and even Lu Haoran had to admire his desk mate's methods. All right, you guys should say a few words less. Seeing the two of them arguing again, Qin Shiqing had to step forward and smooth the situation. Su Zelin's mouth is unobstructed, so it's okay. Little Swallow is also childish. Knowing the other person's temperament, he likes to argue with him from time to time. It's okay to argue, but we always suffer losses and don't learn from our mistakes, constantly losing and fighting. Humph. Tang Yen had a stern face, but after a while, her anger dissipated. She and Su Zelin had been arguing from their first year of high school to their third year of high school. If they had always kept it in their hearts, they would have been infuriated to death by the thugs. In fact, the relationship between the two is very good. After all, middle and high school classmates are also quite destined. Other boys are a bit afraid of Xiao Yanzi's sharp temper and don't dare to talk to her, so Su Zelin often chats with her. Coupled with Qin Shiqing's relationship, both sides can be considered good friends. The next day, the third mock college entrance examination began, with mixed classes and exams. Before his rebirth, Su Zelin had forgotten all the things he had learned in high school, but his foundation was still there. Coupled with his exceptional memory, he could easily recall many things by just reading a book. On the last day, I took the English exam and returned to the classroom. Many people came back and were actively discussing. English genius, how did you do on the exam? As soon as Su Zelin sat down, the Little Swallow in front turned her head again, with a hint of teasing in her tone. There's not much difficulty, I should be able to get full marks. The bastard smiled. You can get a perfect score, I'll call you Dad. Tang Yen rolled her eyes and said to herself, you don't need to make rough drafts when you're bragging. She just opened her mouth and came. It's too difficult to get a full score in English as a subject. Apart from anything else, writing is almost always penalized, and listening and reading comprehension are also unavoidable missing points. Qin Shiqing's the second mock examination has passed 142, which is the highest in the whole grade. Although the third mock examination will lower the difficulty than the second mock examination, making students more confident before the college entrance examination, it is still difficult to get full marks. Su Zelin smiled but remained silent. Multiple well-behaved daughters, it seems pretty good too. End of this chapter. Chapter 4. Su Zelin's Little Fangirl. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 4. Su Zelin's Little Fangirl. After the third mock exam on Friday, it will be put on the weekend as usual after 2 classes in the afternoon. Many people have already packed their backpacks early and brought them to the classroom after taking a nap. They don't need to go back to the dormitory anymore, they can pack a few books and go home immediately. At the entrance of the campus, bicycles rushed out one after another. This bicycle is still the most commonly used means of transportation for student dogs. People who live in the city usually buy a bicycle, which is convenient for traveling back and forth to school or on weekdays during holidays. Su Zelin pushed a Phoenix brand steel frame, with Qin Shiqing and Tang Yen beside him. As neighbors, I attend classes in the same school and class in primary, middle, and high schools. I have long been accustomed to going to school and going home together, while Tang Yan's family has half the way to travel with the two of them, so we also go together on weekends. The appearance of the three attracted countless gazes, but of course, everyone's attention was almost entirely focused on Qin Shiqing. School flower, academic achiever, announcer, and host of a literary evening party. Each title has made Qin Shiqing shine brightly at number 2 middle school. Such a prominent figure will always be the focus no matter where they appear. Zelin is not without a sense of existence. He can be considered a celebrity of the second middle school, but his fame mainly stems from Qin Shiqing's childhood relationship and his heroic act of defeating senior sports students in a fight. In addition, she has a high appearance and a mischievous and handsome demeanor, especially when it's always on her lips. Her lazy and crooked smile is like that of the new generation male star Qin Guanxi in Xiangjiang. Many girls with pure beauty control can't help but take a few more glances. As is well known, Zelin is a scumbag. Seeing him so close to the goddess of academic excellence, Qin Shiqing, naturally makes boys envious and jealous, only hating themselves and the goddess for not being childhood sweethearts. Senior. Accompanied by a delicate voice, a girl pushed her bicycle towards her. Although she is only 28 years old, the girl has become extremely charming. A pair of watery peach blossom eyes seem to sparkle, and her cherry lips are pink and warm. She is a mesmerizing little fairy who is not worth her life. A low-waisted pair of ripped jeans is a symbol of personality and rebellion in this era. The top is fine, just a regular style women's pure cotton T-dot shirt, but the few English letters printed on it are not ordinary. Start with F and end with K. Even many people who have not studied English understand its meaning. In this era, many people like to wear dirty language T-dot shirts to showcase their independence and uniqueness, and when they look back on it as they grow up, they will feel very ordinary. Suslington's head was as big as a bucket. Huang Pan, a sophomore in high school. This charming elementary school girl is a problem girl with a quirky personality, and even her interests are not the same as ordinary girls. Addicted to martial arts novels, especially fond of the free and unrestrained, unconventional male protagonists in the books. Zelin's image is quite fitting, with a handsome and unrestrained temperament. When I first entered my sophomore year of high school, due to a small accident, the two met at an internet cafe. Since then, Huang Pan fell in love with him at first sight. This girl not only runs to the mixed class all day, but also hands him love letters several times or confesses herself directly in person, but she is firmly rejected by the mixed class because Huang Pan is not his favorite and is also a troublesome troublemaker. After being rejected, Huang Pan persisted like a piece of candy, and even waited early at the school gate on weekends just to accompany Zelin. Huang Pan is riding a small mountain sports bike, whether it's the red and yellow color scheme, the novel and avant-garde design, or the aluminum alloy frame, all of which are particularly rare among the traditional style bicycle army on campus, just like this rebellious girl. This mountain sports car has not yet become popular abroad, let alone in China, and its high price is quite rare, which also indicates that Huang Pan's family is well off. In fact, her father is a famous tycoon in the city, but for some reasons, Huang Pan has not received a good education since childhood. There are too many students going out this time, and bicycles can only be pushed. Huang Pan unavoidably pushed his sports bike to the other side of Zelin and said in a coquettish voice, "Senior, what a coincidence. You can all come across this. Xiao, your sister. You always wait at the school gate, this is the only exit, can you avoid encountering it?" Zelin secretly roast. After being reborn, he had two people he didn't want to provoke. The first one is Qin Shiqing, and the second one is Huang Pan. I don't want to ruin Qin Shiqing, but I am afraid of Huang Pan. This girl's obsession with people is not just a whim. She's determined to stay focused until she reaches her goal. If she doesn't accept her, she will stick to it for more than a decade, and Zelin will be scared. "What are you doing, this haunted person?" Zelin gritted his head and asked. "There's nothing I can do, senior. Who makes me like you? Anyway, I will recognize you in my life." Huang Pan smiled happily. She had been rejected several times and had long been accustomed to Zelin's indifference, which she had not taken to heart. But you're not my dish. Zelin has a stern face. No, I don't think so. You don't accept me because of Shiqing, right? Huang Panpan is very confident. I don't want you to think, I just want me to think. Due to Zelin's relationship, she is naturally no stranger to Qin Shiqing. Turning her gaze to Qin Shiqing, the elementary school girl raised her eyebrows and said, Shiqing, don't be complacent. Although your conditions are still good, you are just taking advantage of the advantages you have known since childhood and your senior. I, Huang Panpan, am a better match for your senior. One day, you will be defeated by me. Huang Panpan's hostility towards Qin Shiqing was not surprising. After being rejected by Zelin, she once ran to her dormitory to protest in battle. Although the elementary school girl was very rude, Qin Shiqing didn't take it seriously and just smiled in response. However, Tang Yan can't see it too far. Even if she doesn't think Zelin is worthy of Qin Shiqing, she can't tolerate her sisters being slandered by others. She gave a cold smile and said, elementary school girl, the key to being a good person is having self-awareness. Huang Panpan glanced at Tang Yan and withdrew his gaze. Senior doesn't like you, I don't have the same understanding as you. In her mind, there was only one rival in love, and that was Qin Shiqing. As for Tang Yan, who posed no threat, she had no peace of mind at all. Tang Yan gave her an angry smile. Is this a disguised way of saying that her low appearance is not enough? If it were a boy, she would slap her, but in front of her was an elementary school girl who couldn't take action and stared angrily. Zelin, who was sandwiched in the middle, was very embarrassed. He really had no way to deal with Huang Panpan. He couldn't fight or scold him, so he decided to deal with this girl coldly and ignore her. The other boys are even more envious. Although Huang Panpan has a strange personality, she has developed a beautiful appearance. She is still the only daughter of a wealthy family. If anyone can catch up with her, she may struggle for decades less in the future. There are so many handsome guys in number 2 middle school, but she is determined to be with that bastard. Isn't being handsome really amazing? Leaving the campus, a few people rode bicycles, and Huang Panpan followed closely, not leaving a single step. The senior's posture on the bike is so handsome. Senior, could you say a few words to me? It doesn't matter if you don't speak, the senior's cold and aloof appearance is also very cool. This is why Zelin avoids Huang Panpan like a tiger. Even if she doesn't pay attention, she can still buzz around you like a fly and annoy people to death. After riding several streets, it was finally time to part ways, and Huang Panpan's family was in another direction. At the fork in the road, the elementary school girl stopped and shouted at Zelin's back, Senior, it's okay if you don't accept me now, but sooner or later you will be moved by me. I swear. Early love is quite rare in this era, let alone publicly confessing on the street, which attracts passers-by's attention. Zelin ignored it and rode faster until he completely shook off Huang Panpan, which greatly relieved him. Zelin, I'm surprised. You all have little fangirls who are obsessed to this extent. Hey, did something happen between you and Huang Panpan before? Tang Yan, who had been holding back all along, finally couldn't help but speak out. Qin Shiqing's gaze also drifted over, and she was actually quite curious about this question. There's nothing else, she insisted on being my girlfriend, but after being rejected, she kept pestering me, and I was almost annoyed. Zelin didn't tell anyone about the process of getting to know Huang Panpan, even Qin Shiqing didn't know. If it were other girls who pursued her backwards, the bastard might still show off a bit, but I really don't want to use Huang Panpan as a capital to show off. This girl is a big trouble. She has been haunted for over a decade in her previous life, and Zelin is annoyed when she mentions it. Why did she look down on you instead of anyone else? Tang Yan expressed that it is very puzzling. Su Zelin thought for a moment and sighed. Oh, there's nothing I can do. I've been enduring the handsome and charming qualities that I shouldn't have at this age. I'm so tired. Ugh. At the next intersection, Tang Yan waved goodbye, leaving only Su Zelin and Qin Shiqing. While riding the bike, the bastard's gaze drifted intentionally or unintentionally onto his childhood sweetheart. The wind playfully curled up the girl's light veil like black silk, and the hot weather combined with exercise made her cheeks slightly blush. Her delicate face also oozed a little sweat. Su Zelin's heart was peaceful. Speaking of which, it's been a long time since he rode a bicycle. Before his rebirth, he used luxury cars and supercars to drive in and out, so how could he still use this outdated way of transportation? However, he enjoys the present moment very much. Every nerve and every cell is filled with pleasure. This is youth, being with the one in your heart. Simple little things can make you feel happy. Before his rebirth, he had a yacht party where he called out a bunch of bikini girls, where fine wine served as a pool and fragrant meat served as a forest. But so what? After waking up from drinking, endless emptiness will come and engulf him, suffocating people. He once drove a supercar and ran wildly in the wilderness, but unfortunately, speed did not bring passion. Dancing on the blade was just to numb the loneliness and solitude in his heart. He dreams back to the past countless times, just like now, calm and satisfied. Qin Shiqing and I will never be lovers again in this life, but we will always be friends, that's enough. In the years of gathering, your youth carries my pride, and from now on, we will go our separate ways. May you be better than the ends of the earth. End of this chapter. Forget chapter 5, he doesn't deserve it. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Forget chapter 5, he doesn't deserve it. The bicycle stopped somewhere in the alley and the two of them arrived at their homes. These are two adjacent ordinary residential buildings, both of which have 3 floors and similar areas and decoration styles. Su Zelin looked at the small residential buildings. Compared to the half-mountain luxury houses he had lived in before, the ones located deep in the alley were inconspicuous in terms of geographical location and specifications. However, he was instantly excited. Because the previous life hurt Qin Shiqing's relationship and completely shattered his family relationship, his father said he would never allow him to step into the house, let alone the neighboring Qin Shiqing family. Clash. The Phoenix horizontal bar failed to stabilize and fell to the ground. Are you okay? Qin Shiqing was surprised to see his appearance. It's okay. Su Zelin forcefully suppressed his excitement and lifted his bicycle, but his hands still trembled uncontrollably. Is it really okay? Qin Shiqing was a bit worried. She had never seen a childhood sweetheart behave like this before. I'm so talkative, I'm so good. Unwilling to let her see his heart, Su Zelin pushed the car into his yard. Can I go over tonight to make up for your classes? Humph, whatever you want. Upon hearing Su Zelin's response, Qin Shiqing was slightly taken aback. She used to want to give Su Zelin extra classes on weekends, but this guy always impatiently refused. Although Su Zelin's tone of response this time was the same, the result was different. He actually accepted it. This week Zelin is really abnormal. Perhaps as the college entrance examination is approaching, he also realizes that he can't be so careless anymore. Open the door with the key and walk up to the second floor. The layout of 1 living room, 2 bedrooms, and 1 kitchen is set with floor tiles, no ceiling, no wallpaper, TV background walls or other fancy items. The sofa, tables and chairs, and coffee table are all old-fashioned red-painted wooden furniture. A Panda Color TV, an 8.0 VCD, a Watson ceiling fan, and a kettle have become the main electrical components in the living room. Compared to future home decoration, hardware and software have been simplified to the extreme. But it's not important, what's important is the people in the house. A middle-aged woman wearing a scarf walked out of the kitchen with a spatula. When she saw Su Zelin, she smiled and said, "Son, you're back." Zhao Lixia, Su Zelin's mother. The wrinkles on my mother's face are not many now, and she smiles very kindly. But for Su Zelin, this smile seemed like a distant world. His nose was sore, his eyes were instantly moist, he threw down his backpack and quickly walked over, hugging Zhao Lixia tightly. "Mom." Zhao Lixia was taken aback for a moment. Since Su Zelin became sensible, she had never seen her son cry before and said, "Stinky kid, what are you doing?" "It's nothing, I just miss you. I'm so happy to see you." Su Zelin wiped his eyes and let go of his hand. "I haven't seen you for just a week. What's there to worry about?" Zhao Lixia is very strange. Based on her understanding of her son, Su Zelin is not someone who misses home. "Hee, I feel like this week has been very long, it seems like I haven't seen you in a long time." Su Zelin smiled and said. "Guri is weird." Zhao Lixia shook her head without further questioning, thinking that Su Zelin was under pressure before the college entrance examination, so her emotions exploded. "I'll go see what dishes there are." Su Zelin quickly entered the kitchen. "I saw a plate of freshly made pineapple fried chicken on the cabinet, one of his favorite dishes." Reaching out and picking up a piece, he threw it into his mouth. "Delicious. This is a home-cooked dish made by my mother." For Su Zelin, whether it's a 5-star hotel or a Michelin chef, they have to stand aside. Just as she was about to take the second piece, a spatula hit the back of her hand, but Zhao Lixia, who followed in, frowned and looked up. "Stinky kid, did you wash your hands before stealing?" "Not yet, Mom's dishes are so delicious that I can't wait." Su Zelin didn't care either, and with a smile, he picked up the second piece. "Don't shift the topic, go wash your hands immediately." "Yes, mother." Su Zelin just walked out of the kitchen. Zhao Lixia's stern face loosened, and a faint smile appeared at the corner of her mouth. "Stinky kid, you know how to flatter me." After washing his hands, Su Zelin walked into his room and saw several celebrity posters pasted on the wall. Zhou Huimin, Wen Bixia, Zhang Manyu. There is a pile of basketball magazines piled up on the desk. Contemporary sports. Dunk Dunk, Slam Dunk, NBA stuff. Open the drawer, it's filled with comics. Kung Fu Whirlwind, Hell Teacher, Cat's Eye. Three Sisters, Baseball Heroes, Wanderer's Sword Heart. In addition to comics, there is also a Game Boy lying quietly. A real-life version of Memory Killing. Su Zelin opened a book called Baseball Heroes and read it with great interest. This is one of his favorite comics, from Island Country manga artist Andichong. The theme is baseball, but the true story is about a childhood sweetheart. After watching for a while, I could hear the sound of the anti-theft door opening. Su Zelin threw the comic back into the drawer and walked out to see a middle-aged man changing his leather shoes. He has a burly figure, a Chinese-style face, bright and lively eyes, and upright facial features, indicating that he must have been a beautiful man in his youth. "Dad." Su Zelin also gave him a strong hug. The reaction of Su Jianjun was as confusing as Zhao Lixia's. After a while, he finally uttered two words. "Don't play this game with me, you don't have any pocket money, do you?" "Dad, it's truly you." Both the Su and Qin families were originally employees of steel mills. Later, the Su and Qin families went to work in the 1980s and earned a lot of money in the new century. They were not considered nouveau riche, but at least they didn't have to worry about food and clothing. Their childhood was enjoyable, as can be seen from Su Zelin's set of comic books and the Game Boy. These things are quite expensive. In the 1990s, the two elderly members of the Qin family were also laid off with the tide of state-owned enterprise reform. They had no choice but to do business. Fortunately, it was a blessing in disguise, and their quality of life was much better than receiving a dead wage in a steel factory. Several home-cooked dishes were quickly prepared, and Zhao Lixia asked Su Zelin to call Qin Shiqing over as well. Due to business reasons, when both families are particularly busy, the other family will take the initiative to invite their neighbors' children to eat together. In the dining room, Su Zelin, Su Jianjun, Zhao Lixia, and Qin Shiqing all looked at each other as they wolfed down their food, dropped their chopsticks like flying, and kept their mouths shut. In his third year of high school, Su Zelin, who is already 1.8 meters tall, is still in a state of rising. He usually has a big appetite, but even if he comes back from playing basketball, he has never seen him like a starving reincarnation. Slow down, don't choke. While Zhao Lixia anxiously reminded her, she doubted whether she had performed exceptionally well in cooking today. However, she picked up a few dishes and tasted them, but did not notice much improvement in taste compared to usual. Shiqing, did this kid do something bad again last week? He used up all his food expenses early on. The Soviet Jianjun considered the key points of the problem. The weekly meal expenses he gives to his son are definitely quite generous in class, and the school expenses are not expensive. He has more than enough for 3 meals a day with fruit, snacks, and drinks, and even has some money left to buy magazines or comics. But as soon as Su Zelin received the money, he often let himself go, such as sneaking into the game room and running horses on the way to school, and then squandering it in the blink of an eye. That's why he ordered his son to go to and from school with Qin Shiqing, making the latter keep a close eye on him. However, sometimes Qin Shiqing couldn't even keep an eye on her. As soon as Su Zelin accelerated her bike, she could quickly shake off this tail. With a girl's physical strength, she would definitely not be able to catch up. Of course, after coming home next week to file a complaint, Su Zelin also had to give up. Uncle, no. Qin Shiqing shook her head. Su Zelin was still very disciplined this week, and even the rules during her school days were a bit too strict. What's wrong with this stinky kid? Su Jianjun murmured to himself, which was very puzzling. Su Zelin patted the table and said, "Dad, how can you always doubt me? Can't it be that Mom's cooking is too delicious and makes my appetite boil?" He has always been very dissatisfied with being arranged for Qin Shiqing to monitor, and he just took advantage of the situation. Come on, I don't know your mom's cooking skills yet. Halfway through Su Jianjun's words, he felt two sharp, knife-like gazes pressing towards him, causing a shiver. Driven by a strong desire for survival, his tone suddenly changed and he said, "Is that worth talking about?" Of course, even the hotel chef has to bow down. The two sharp gazes were averted, and Zhao Lixia's lips lit up with a satisfied smile. Qin Shiqing covered her mouth and chuckled, thinking to herself that Uncle Su and my father are like each other, so it's safe to have tracheitis. Su Zelin secretly gave his father a thumbs up. Only by being able to bend and stretch can one become a great husband. Among the four people, Su Zelin ate the meal the fastest and the longest. The others were all full, and he went on like a storm until he cleared all the plates and didn't waste any. Only then did he belch contentedly and put down his chopsticks, saying, "You're full." Zhao Lixia is very happy. The child enjoys cooking their own food, which is one of the happiest things for the mother. Immediately tidy up the table, Qin Shiqing goes over to help. "Shiqing, you don't need to come. The college entrance examination is coming soon, so if you have time, review your homework more." Zhao Lixia blocked the way. "It's okay, Auntie. I'll help you wash the dishes first, but it won't take much time." Qin Shiqing is very persistent. Shiqing is sensible. "That kid in our family can be 1/10 as good as you. Auntie and your uncle don't have to worry so much anymore. I don't know which lucky one will marry you as their daughter-in-law in the future. Even in-laws can laugh in their dreams." Zhao Lixia let out a long sigh. "Auntie is joking." Qin Shiqing's pretty face blushed slightly. Zhao Lixia is full of hope that Qin Shiqing can become her own daughter-in-law in the future, and the two families will get closer together. However, after glancing at Zelin, who was crossing his legs and picking his teeth in the living room, he finally shook his head. Forget it, he doesn't deserve it. End of this chapter. Chapter 6. I plan to start my own business after going to college. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 6. I plan to start my own business after going to college. Zhao Lixia and Qin Shiqing were busy in the kitchen, while Zelin picked up a pack of liqueur that Su Jianjun had thrown on the table. He lightly tapped the bottom of the cigarette box twice before popping out 2 in a row. He took out one and held it in his mouth, while the other handed it to Su Jianjun, saying, "Daddy, how long will you be a fairy?" As the saying goes, a cigarette after a meal brings joy like a fairy. If it were someone else's child, they would be killed on the spot. However, Zelin's actions were not surprising to Su Jianjun. This kid started secretly smoking in his freshman year of high school. When he was discovered, Su Jianjun gave him a fierce beating. Unfortunately, Zelin remained stubborn and avoided smoking in various ways, refusing to change his ways. When he was most angry, Su Jianjun gave him a hard beating with his belt, but it was of no use. Zelin still acted his own way, not even crying that time. There was no other way, to be honest. We couldn't really kill our son just because of this. In the end, Su Jianjun gave up. Since we cannot dissuade him, we can only settle for second best. Later, he had a meeting with Zelin, and the two father and son reached an agreement to take a step back. Zelin was allowed to smoke, but absolutely not at school. Zelin accepted the outcome of the peace talks and reached a consensus in such a tacit agreement. The bastard is quite punctual, never smoking a single cigarette during school, but when he comes home, he is reckless. Although Zelin had been smoking for a long time, his skillful smoking technique slightly surprised Su Jianjun. Do you feel like this kid is like an old smoker with at least a decade of smoking experience? And this hand is quite graceful, let's practice it another day. Let's go. Su Jianjun pouted at the door. It's okay for the two father and son to smoke at home, but they usually don't show up in front of Zhao Lixia to prevent her from being poisoned by secondhand smoke. If Qin Shiqing were here, she would be even more afraid, otherwise father and son would definitely be beaten by Zhao Lixia. Zelin is naturally aware of this hidden rule, and neither he nor his father dare to tease his mother's beard about it. Then he picked up the box of liqueur and lighter and arrived at the yard on the first floor. After the two father and son had a moment of confusion, Su Jianjun spoke up and said, "Zelin, what are your plans after graduating from high school?" Zelin said that he is not young anymore and needs to consider his future. As a father, Su Jianjun needs to listen to his son's thoughts. If he really doesn't like studying, it's not impossible for him to help himself with his business in the future. Zelin is not interested in learning, but he has a bright mind, high emotional intelligence, courage, and good social skills, making him a good candidate for business. However, it is necessary to complete college, even if it is just to pass the time and broaden one's horizons. I have no hope with my grades, and there's no problem with my second one. I plan to do something and start a career after going to college. At this moment, the sun had completely set, and Zelin's eyes shone in the darkness. He has all come out of his past life and become a billionaire, not to mention after being reborn. In this era, there is gold everywhere. You can easily grab a few and live a comfortable life. Of course, there are also landmines everywhere, and if you're not careful, you'll break into pieces. However, as a reborn individual, Zelin knows too well how to prevent lightning. For him, money is not that important. The ultimate material life cannot make up for the emptiness of family and inner self. But as long as you are spiritually prosperous, even if you are not as miserable as an ordinary family in the future, you can still live happily and happily. In his past life, he neglected too many people and things in order to make money. Later, he even caused trouble and broke away from his parents. As a childhood sweetheart, he traveled far away and had fewer and fewer real friends. You have traveled all over the world to see the scenery, and after walking around, you come back only to find that the most beautiful scenery is actually right beside you, but you have been in it for a long time without realizing it. It is only after losing it that you realize how precious it is. Zelin will definitely not make the same mistake again. Of course, money must be spent. Money is not omnipotent, but sometimes it can solve many problems and make family and friends live more comfortably. Just remember not to sacrifice the basics. You have a great entrepreneurial mindset. Su Jianjun nodded slightly. However, starting a business for college students is not easy. You have to persevere, and if you fail, don't be discouraged. The key is to be able to absorb education and learn something. After a pause, he continued, if you need funds, you can tell your family that Dad will definitely support you and your mom should have no problem. Our family has also made some money over the years, and we still have some savings on hand. Okay, Dad, then thank you first. Why do the two fathers and sons say this? Su Jianjun patted his shoulder. What he was most worried about was that Zelin would go to college and even just hang around after graduation, with his mind full of food, drink, and play. When he found out that he had his own ideas, Lao Huai was very pleased. Where is Shiqing? After hesitating for a moment, Su Jianjun tentatively asked. He and his wife share the same mindset, hoping that Qin Shiqing can become a daughter-in-law in the future. Although my son doesn't seem worthy of him, he still holds a little hope in his heart. However, Zelin didn't know if he was slow or if the rabbit didn't eat grass on the edge of the nest. This guy who dared to rent educational films at the DVD store looked completely clueless when faced with his childhood sweetheart like a flower. With Qin Shiqing's beauty and character, those who pursue her after entering university may be like crucian carp crossing the river. If Zelin doesn't take action early, even if it's delayed, the yellow cauliflower will be cold. Son is not in a hurry, old man is in a hurry, and Su Jianjun is not good at directly exposing it, otherwise there is suspicion of encouraging early love. What's wrong with Shiqing and me? Zelin pretended to be confused. She is from Qinbei. I mostly attend an ordinary university in the province, but the two families are still neighbors and friends forever. Su Jianjun's mouth twitched and he hesitated before finally sighing. Indeed, apart from this face, my son seems to have nothing else that can match Shiqing's, and even though the university is separated from each other, he barely manages to come. Even if Shiqing doesn't dislike this bastard and treats him well, it may just be because of the good relationship between the two families, growing up together, and not necessarily having any other meaning. Forget it, let it go with the flow. I think so, but Su Jianjun's mood was a bit heavy after all. After all, a good girl like Qin Shiqing is really rare. Coupled with the friendship between the two families, this daughter-in-law is perfect and she is absolutely not worried about conflicts between mother-in-law and daughter-in-law. Her own wife has already treated Qin Shiqing like a daughter. Uncle, you made Zelin smoke again. A figure walked out from behind the two of them, and suddenly snatched off the sword that Zelin was holding in his mouth, pinched it out, and threw it into the trash can. Speak of Chow Chow, and he will arrive. Qin Shiqing, who had finished washing dishes, guessed that her father and son must have gone to the yard to smoke when she saw them not in the living room. Ah, this. Su Jianjun was a bit embarrassed and didn't know how to answer. I'm so annoyed, my mom doesn't even care as much as you do. Zelin was about to take out another cigarette when Qin Shiqing deftly snatched the entire pack and said, Uncle, I'll keep this cigarette for you first. Also, it's time for tutoring. Right, Shiqing is kind enough to help you with your tutoring. Stinky kid, don't let down their kindness. Su Jianjun took the opportunity to find a step down. Qin Shiqing dragged Zelin upstairs. Su Jianjun fell silent as he watched the unsuspecting figures of the two little ones. Stinky kid, even if the chance is slim, you still have to work hard. At 10 o'clock in the evening, Qin Shiqing went home, while Zelin went to take a shower. The weather in early summer is already very hot, and he usually takes a shower before going to bed. Opening the wardrobe and glancing at the clothes inside, Zelin was completely dumbfounded. The worn-out denim, leather jacket, and bell-bottomed pants actually have a set of the same style as the Eight Gods Temple. If it were for later generations, they would probably be beaten on the street. In addition, there is also a dirty T-shirt with the word fuck on it. It is obvious that Zelin cannot buy a couple's style with Huang Panpan. It should be because she idolizes herself too much and follows the trend. My high school attire is truly exceptional. After picking and searching for a bunch of personality outfits, I finally found a slightly more eye-catching pair of pants and T-shirts. As Zelin walked out of the room, he thought to himself that all these fashions must be replaced tomorrow. With his current mindset, that is absolutely intolerable. Go to the bathroom and look at the familiar yet unfamiliar face in the mirror. The two elders used to be the factory flowers of the steel factory, and their love could not have been a romantic relationship. In fact, Zelin perfectly inherited the advantages of his father and mother. His face was slightly smaller than Su Jianjun's national character face, maintaining a toughness while adding a touch of delicacy, not too rough. Sharp like a sword blade, the slanted eyebrows fly into the temples, the deep starry eyes, and the high nose bridge all bring visual aggression. However, the delicate skin and red and white lips and teeth are balanced to a certain extent, overall just right, different from the small fresh flesh's feminine aura and not too solemn. The two contradictory characteristics brought Zelin a rugged and handsome appearance, and when he grinned, he really looked like Chen Guanxi of this era. I can be called Teacher Jianglan and Teacher Chen now, but I'm afraid I might become Uncle Benshan in the future. Zelin had a small concern, but it was quickly forgotten. At least before his rebirth, he was still a mature and handsome man, with no tendency to compromise his appearance or charm. This body is not only young, full of vitality, but also very sturdy, perhaps due to ADHD and a passion for exercise since childhood. The body-fat ratio is quite ideal, the body shape ratio is good, and the muscle lines are smooth. It is not as bulky as muscular men, who look thin when dressed and have flesh when undressed. Zelin is quite satisfied with his current state. Picking up a piece of jade leaf soap, she hummed a song while rubbing her side and said, "Flower in my heart, I want to take you home at that late-night bar, regardless of whether it's real or fake." Hummed a few words before suddenly stopping. "Well, the rhythm is not right, it's too out of sync, change it. I often blame myself, I shouldn't have done it before, and I often regret not leaving you behind. Why do we still have to part ways even when we love each other?" End of this chapter. Chapter 7. Enhancing Image. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 7. Enhancing Image. There was nothing to say overnight. The next morning, after breakfast, Zelin opened his hand and said, "Dad, give me the money. I'm going to buy clothes today." By and by, you know how to buy clothes all day long. Look at your wardrobe, it's all packed with strange clothes, expensive and unsightly. Zhao Lixia couldn't resist roast. Zelin's cabinet of fashion was simply eye-catching to the two elders. "That's right, those clothes are too ugly. I plan to replace them all with normal ones." Zelin's tender face turned red. "Are you sure?" Su Jianjun didn't quite believe it. Based on his understanding of his son, these bizarre costumes are normal. Zelin suddenly became angry and said, "Dad, with your intelligence, can I deceive you? If you don't believe me, you can accompany me." "That's right." Su Jianjun was very pleased with this flattery. "Your mother and I are not available, the store will be very busy today." He hesitated for a moment and made a decision. "Yesterday, I had a conversation with Zelin and he found that his son is really different from before. He even has the idea of starting a business after going to college. To change his image, he naturally needs support. Take out 5 big red heads from the cowhide bag and stuff them into Su Zealand's hand. In this era, prices are still very cheap, and this money is enough to buy several decent branded summer outfits. Stinky kid, remember, you can't buy things with holes, there are also colorful and pretty flowers. If you dare to deceive us, you won't be able to bear it. Zhao Lixia reminded her that she had originally considered letting Qin Shiqing follow and keep an eye on her, but she was afraid of wasting the precious time of others reviewing their lessons. So she decided to let it go. I know, mother. Su Zealand smiled and took a few old heads, casually stuffing them into his pockets. Please keep this money safe and be careful of thieves. Zhao Lixia frowned. Don't worry, old man. Who in Jianglan dares to steal Su Zealand's money from me? I'll smash his head. Su Zealand was careless, but what he said was also true. He has been restless since childhood, fighting with classmates and thugs every day, fighting for countless blocks. He is known for his ferocity and bravery, and can be called a street bully. He is also famous in his circle. Besides, both hooligans and thieves are accustomed to finding soft persimmons to pinch. Even if they don't know Su Zealand, seeing him as arrogant and mischievous, they can guess that he is either a colleague or a difficult person to deal with. No one will be satisfied and cause trouble for nothing. What a big person. He knows how to fight all day long. Zhao Lixia chattered a few more words before leaving the door with Su Jianjun, riding a Jiaoling vehicle, and leaving the alley. In the car, Zhao Lixia said discontentedly, "You are too indulgent with your son. Giving so much money to buy a few sets of clothes is so frustrating for a loving father. Is it a good thing that my son wants to change his image? Besides, Zelin is more sensible than before. I talked to him last night and asked him what his future plans are. My son said he plans to start his own business in college." The Soviet Jianjun responded without looking back while driving. Did he really say that? Really, and it doesn't seem like I'm lying. Zelin really wants to have his own ideas. That's good. Zhao Lixia breathed a sigh of relief. Her biggest concern was that her son would continue to be so confused. By the way, last night when I was washing dishes, Shiqing told me that Zelin was very obedient at school last week and often stayed in the classroom after school. Hee, it seems that our Zelin family has really grown up. The 2 old men had just left, and Su Zealand rode his bicycle out of the door with his back foot. Jianglan is quite small, and it hasn't been many years since the county was abolished and the city was established. People can easily count the places where they often buy clothes with their fingers. There are several major markets with discount points, such as the Central Market and the Southern Market. Su Zhe first ran around and was disappointed to find that almost all of them were street vendors, with poor styles and quality, and were filled with Nike and Adidas everywhere. The price is quite cheap, some clothes cost 20 to 30 yuan, and even can be discounted. It's not a problem to cut 20% off. This is the experience that Zhao Lixia told Su Zealand before leaving. If you buy clothes in these 2 places, you must negotiate a price. If it exceeds 80%, turn around and leave. You don't need to take 5 steps, and the vendor will automatically call you back, using excuses such as, just launched the market today, or, because you are a student, you sold it at a low price, to make a deal. Before his rebirth, Su Zealand was wearing big brands, not because he was vain, but because the quality of the fabric of the brand's clothes was indeed good, which helped to enhance his image. In addition, he also wore comfortable clothes. Besides, his family background is quite good, and he is also confident in making money quickly, so there is no need to compromise himself in order to save so much money. After running through 2 markets, it is estimated that the other markets are basically the same situation. Su Zealand no longer wastes time and heads straight to the famous street in the city center. There are many styles of clothes in this place, and while the price has increased, there are also designs to speak of. Strolling down the street. Caesar the Great, the old man, Jaeger, and the powerful tyrant are all too old-fashioned and not suitable for young people. Pass. Arriving at the fifth shop, Zelin stopped. This is a Jack Jones specialty store that specializes in denim and caters to young people. That's it. The bicycle stopped at the entrance of the shop, and Zelin walked in. Hello, welcome. Jack Jones understands the psychology of young consumers very well, and the staff inside are all stylish and handsome, and the girls he receives are also quite eye-catching. Currently, there are not many brands in China that focus on the youthfulness market, and businesses are not aware of the changing trend of future consumer trends. The brand's philosophy direction is right, and currently, it is possible to make money by joining a few specialty stores in any city. Well, I want to see jeans, straight cut. Straight leg pants are a timeless style that never goes out of style. Small speakers, large speakers, and small foot models have all been popular, but they either disappear or cannot take on the mainstream. Okay, this way, please. The paper shop assistant took Zelin to a certain location in the shop, all of which were straight-leg jeans, with dozens of styles available. Zelin glanced at one of them casually and picked it up. It has a certain elasticity, good drape, and good breathability. It should be a blend of spandex and cotton, with a spandex content of about 30%. Indigo dye, with a bright feeling, slightly red light, and no significant staining of the bag fabric. Delicate texture and high count. Without waiting for Meiji introduction, Zelin described it as if it were a treasure trove, leaving Meiji stunned. Some terms were even unfamiliar to her. Encountered an expert. But this handsome little guy looks just like a high school student. Why does he know so much? Zelin immediately fell in love with this pair of pants. Meiji quickly went to the warehouse to find the appropriate size and also looked at the washing label. The spandex content is 31%, and the cotton content is 69%. Amazing. Zelin tried on it and saw himself in front of the mirror, nodding with satisfaction. This can be considered a bit of a handsome guy. The previous image was too flashy. His figure is like a clothes rack, as long as it's not a bizarre outfit and the size is appropriate, he can easily handle it. This pair of straight-leg jeans looks great on the body, but it's also comfortable. Pure polyester fiber clothing has elasticity, good softness and drape, positive color and is not easy to fade. However, it is not breathable, sweat-absorbing, and skin-friendly. Pure cotton clothing is the opposite, breathable, sweat-absorbing, and skin-friendly. However, its elasticity and drape are not good, and it is easy to fade. Therefore, adding a certain proportion of polyester fiber blending to cotton fabric is the most suitable material. In addition, it also depends on the craftsmanship, such as the number of pieces, which directly affects the skin's touch and comfort. Wearing 2 pairs of jeans, Jack Jones left the Jack Jones store. In this era of low consumption, he only spent more than 100 yuan. Compared to the 23 yuan street vendors in the market, Jack Jones in 2000 was considered a light luxury. Continuing to browse other brand stores, I also bought a set of hip-hop style wide leg shorts and loose tee-shirts, an Island Academy style set, a sportswear set, and spent almost all the money in my pocket. Carrying a few large bags, Zelin left famous Brand Street and went straight to a hair salon. Besides his old clothes, he is also dissatisfied with his hairstyle. Although long hair piled up with a thickness of 28 or 37 is not mainstream, it is even a popular classic in the Xiangjiang area. Lin Jiying, Guo Tianwang, Gu Zai, and Xie Tingfeng all keep this hairstyle. However, Zelin, a future person who will travel back 10 years later, still feels that it is not refreshing enough, and the summer is scorching hot. This is one of the most well-known hair salons in the small town, with a slightly expensive fee, but it can cut many avant-garde hairstyles, such as Hong Kong style, Bay style, and even European and American style, so Zelin chose it. As soon as I walked in, I directly named the director and personally described how he had broken his hair. The hairstyle of the male lead Kujindong in the movie, the girl we chased together in those years, was neither long nor short, just right. It had the youthful vigor of a young person, and wearing some mousse could also age him at any time, making him look more mature. The director's craftsmanship is good, at least Su Zelin is quite satisfied with the results. After the image rectification project was completed, it was almost noon when he leisurely rode his bicycle back home. Stopped at the convenience store at the alley entrance. After strolling around the street for a while, the sun was scorching and Su Zealand's throat was almost smoking. It's so hot, Chen Bo, come and support the Arctic Ocean. Chen Bo has been running this convenience store for many years. It's an old neighborhood, and Su Zealand used to buy snacks and drinks here when he was a child. Okay, one in the Arctic Ocean. Chen Bo quickly took out a soda with a polar bear logo from the refrigerator and handed it to him. He looked at it carefully and smiled. Oh, Zelin has become a handsome young man. Su Zelin couldn't bear the alternative old clothes of his past for a moment. He bought a new outfit at the convenience store on the famous Brand Street, and with a short hairstyle, he was completely refreshed. Chen Bo, what are these words? They sound like I wasn't handsome before. Su Zelin expressed protest. Chen Bo chuckled. Although Su Zelin used to have a good face, his attire was not commendable, and he was the only one with thick skin who was not afraid of being beaten. His own son had played the same tune before getting married, and after being beaten twice, he became discouraged. Shake the lid a few times and open it. The orange soda splashed out with bubbles, and Su Zelin took a few gulps. Heartbreaking coolness and soaring heart. Ha, it's comfortable now. While sitting at the door drinking soda, Su Zelin also looked at the things in the convenience store. Although sparrows are small and have all their internal organs, they still sell a lot of daily necessities. Su Zealand's main focus is still on snacks. Melasu, Monkey King Pill, Lard Candy, Fig Shreds, Whistle Candy, Jump Candy. That's right, this jumping candy is still for eating, and boys also eat it. Chen Bo, 2 packs of sour plum powder. Su Zealand's childlike heart blossomed. What else would you eat sour plum powder for such a big young man? Despite that, Chen Bo still took out 2 packets of sour plum powder. Su Zealand first groped up and down through the small packaging bag for a while before eagerly biting it open. Peel off the pile of dark red powder. There is still a small, flat plastic spoon hidden inside, with a handle resembling a statue of a sand monk. This sour plum powder belongs to the category of 3-no products, but it has once reached the ceiling of the street food market. It is not because it is delicious, but because of the treasure inside. The shape of that spoon is random. It may be a series of cold weapons such as knives, forks, swords, halberds, axes, hooks, forks, or characters from Journey to the West, or the 12 zodiac signs of dragons, snakes, horses, and sheep, or a series of immortals such as Tathagata Buddha. More rare are the European God series and machine gun pistol submachine gun series. Buying a pack of sour plum powder gives you a thrill of defeating monsters and critical equipment, not just the usual excitement. If a rare series spoon is exposed, just this spoon can be exchanged for several bags of sour plum powder, but most children are reluctant to exchange it. When Su Zelin was a child, he ate hundreds of packets of sour plum powder. He didn't collect spoons just to eat them. He also kept weapon sets and a complete set of Journey to the West at home, and most of the 12 zodiac signs also had sets. Unfortunately, he didn't have rare spoons, which was a little regrettable. I opened another package, but my luck is still not good. There are many spoons in the cold weapon series, and they have little collectible value. Su Zelin was not disappointed either. Anyway, he just played around and poured sour plum powder into his mouth. It was sour and sweet, and the taste was very good. After finishing a soda, he was still unsatisfied and bought a banana popsicle, which was also one of Su Zealand's favorite summers. At this moment, two more children ran to the convenience store, a man and a woman, who were only 6 or 7 years old, and were children from nearby neighborhoods. The two of them were sweating profusely while playing, and the girl eagerly looked at the banana popsicle in Su Zealand's hand, her mouth watering. Su Zealand burst into laughter and suddenly remembered when he and Qin Shiqing were children. He asked Chen Bo to bring them a box of 7 dwarfs. "Thank you, brother." The two children were overjoyed. Eating an popsicle on such a hot summer day is their greatest joy. "Little devil, wait a moment." Su Zealand stopped the boy holding an ice cream box and casually asked, "There are 7 popsicles here, how do you divide them?" The little boy tilted his head and thought for a moment, "I have 3, Chi-Chi has 4. "Oh, why?" Su Zealand is very interested. "Because I am a boy, my dad said that the boy wants to give way to the girl, so Chi-Chi should eat an extra one." The little boy answered confidently. "Very good." Su Zealand touched his little head. "You can't divide it this way." The little girl suddenly spoke out. "Oh. Mom said we should be fair in our actions, so Xiaoqiang and I each licked the last popsicle until we licked it perfectly. You're also a good child." Su Zealand gave her a thumbs up. Two children ran away with popsicles in their hands. Su Zealand felt a myriad of emotions in his heart. "This is our childhood, so simple." "Zelin." A gentle female voice came from behind. But Qin Shiqing stood behind her at some point. "How long have you been here?" Su Zealand was slightly surprised. Qin Shiqing did not answer, but instead looked at the two children's distant backs, with a peaceful jade expression that showed a hint of nostalgia. "Back then, we were also separated like this in the end." She has been here for a while thinking of something." Qin Shiqing's face suddenly turned a little red. The last popsicle, she and Su Zealand each licked it once. After a while, Qin Shiqing's gaze finally returned. Looking at Su Zealand in front of her, her beautiful eyes lit up and she felt slightly surprised. As a neighbor for so long, it was the first time she had seen her childhood sweetheart like this. The thick and long hair, which was about 3 to 7 centimeters thick, was cut off and replaced with refreshing short hair. The slim-fitting straight-leg jeans made his 1.8 meter tall and straight, paired with a red and blue color matching T-dot shirt, exuding a casual and fashionable atmosphere. It's very trendy. It's not the pseudo-trend of non-mainstream clothing in the past, but the true taste, at least Qin Shiqing finds it very pleasing to the eye. Am I too handsome to recognize now? Su Zealand shook his hand in front of her, and Qin Shiqing finally regained consciousness. He spat and said, "It's nothing like that, you're so beautiful." Chen Bo looked at the two with a smile on his face. On the boys and girls just now, he saw what Su Zealand and Qin Shiqing looked like back then. The girl from the Qin family likes to run behind the Su family boy when she wears 2 sheep horn braids. In the blink of an eye, both of these children have grown up, and I am also getting old. Chen Bo, 2 more Arctic Oceans. Su Zealand doesn't need to ask, he knows Qin Shiqing's taste. The two of them like the same type of soda. Growing up together from a young age, he was in the same class from kindergarten to high school, and he knows her so well. Chen Bo took out 2 Arctic tubes from the refrigerator and opened them. Su Zealand took one himself and handed the other one to Qin Shiqing. The two of them sat outside the convenience store, slowly chattering soda, without speaking, feeling like they were back in the old days. After drinking half of this soda, Su Zealand spoke out again, "Qin Shiqing, promise me something." "What's going on?" Qin Shiqing casually asked. "Be sure to get into Qingbei." Su Zealand is serious and authentic. In the previous life, Qin Shiqing was originally a student of the Qing dynasty, but later for some unknown reason, she performed poorly and eventually passed the entrance examination for Zhejiang University in the same city in the province. It was precisely because of this that they had many opportunities to interact with each other during their college years, which led to their own failure. So, Zelin doesn't want to remain like that in his lifetime. I'll try my best, that's it, let's go home. Qin Shiqing put down the bottle and stood up to walk towards the alley. Hey, why are you walking so fast? I haven't finished my drink yet, wait for me. End of this chapter. Chapter 8. Buying Lottery, Zelin's Wealth Code. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 8 Buying Lottery, Zelin's Wealth Code. In the evening, Su Jianjun and Zhao Lixia returned home and looked at their son with big and small eyes, almost unrecognizable. After a while, Father Su let out a long sigh of relief. These 500 yuan are worth it. As the saying goes, a man relies on his clothes, a horse depends on his saddle. Our son, with this transformation, is still quite handsome. In fact, Zelin's appearance has always been good, but unfortunately, his previous clothing has been a hindrance, and his appearance has made the two elders dislike him, making them feel that his son is not very good. Zelin humbly said, the key is still good genetics. Dad and Mom, you were the factory grass and flower of the steel factory back then. As your excellent variety, even if you can't be better than blue, at least you can't be too lazy. Su Jianjun proudly said, son, don't even mention the aspect of appearance. Our Su family is very particular about it. We have 3 generations of ancestors, dating back to your great-grandfather, all of whom are beautiful men. If you say that, our Zhao family won't have any credit for it. Zhao Lixia was dissatisfied. Take a look at Zelin's face shape and skin, they are exactly the same as me. If they want to look like your Su family, they must have a big face and a dark and unadorned appearance. What's wrong with a Chinese character face? It looks righteous, and many officials have this face shape. Black spots on the skin are also a symbol of health. Many crooked fruit kernels intentionally tan, and Zelin's eyes, as the most important part of the facial features, are bright and divine, clearly from our Su family. Normally, Su Jianjun still allows his wife, but when it comes to family glory, he won't let the needle down. Fart, besides his eyes, my son's nose, mouth, and ears are all inherited from our Zhao family, and he looks just like his grandfather when he was young. My son's black and straight hair looks like mine. My son's delicate fingers are like mine, and his nails are still wooden. The fortune teller says he will live a rich and prosperous life without having to work hard. The two elders had a disagreement, and it was because Zelin inherited more genes that they began to argue. Dad and Mom, don't argue anymore. I have inherited your best qualities, complement each other. Zelin first tried to smooth things out, then coughed dry and said, I've run out of money to buy clothes. Can you get lost? After staying at home for 2 days, the two of them returned to school together on Sunday evening. Qin Shiqing got a little angry for some reason and rode her bike straight in front of her. But after riding for a while, she felt something was wrong and turned around and disappeared from Zelin. This guy slipped away again. She was tasked with keeping an eye on Zelin's going to and from school, otherwise he might have gone to the arcade to play. You really can't relax your guard for a second. Qin Shiqing was both anxious and angry, and immediately turned the front of the car back to look for it. It wasn't long before we found it, but fortunately Zelin didn't enter the arcade hall. Instead, he was at a lottery shop on the roadside. When Qin Shiqing found him, Zelin had already played a thick stack of lottery tickets in his hand. How many lottery tickets did you buy? The meal expenses are all covered. Are you a fool? Qin Shiqing almost cried out of anger. What do you think about buying lottery tickets with all the food expenses? Don't worry, I will definitely hit. Hee, these are all my wealth codes. Zelin tightly grasped the stack of lottery tickets, full of confidence. At this time in his past life, someone in Jianglan won a big prize, worth 5 million yuan. He clearly remembered the first lottery next week after the end of the third mock examination. This matter has been published in the newspaper, and Su Zelin has read it. Many neighbors, such as my parents and Chen Bo, are envious and jealous of it. Although it has been many years, he has a good memory and many people talked about it at that time, vaguely remembering the winning number. Su Zelin was not very sure, so he bought some similar numbers in his memory and directly gave the meal expenses for this week to Swoha. Opportunities are fleeting, never come again. Give it a try, Phoenix turns into Jialing. In short, it's necessary to buy and buy. You're a big head, how could it be so easy? Qin Shiqing is a bit dizzy. He felt that Su Zelin was going crazy to get rich. I'm lucky, didn't I also win the lottery last time? Su Zelin spoke eloquently. Well, I did win. That time you borrowed 20 yuan from me and threw your own 30 yuan into it. In the end, you won 5 yuan. It's okay to say so. Qin Shiqing was unable to roast. Don't worry about those details, the key is hitting it. Su Zelin let out a dry cough. Besides, this time it's different. My grandfather dreamt of it to me last night and insisted that I buy it. That's what you said last time. The dream I had last time was not as realistic, so I only won 5 yuan. This time it's even more realistic, and I have a premonition that 5 million yuan is already waving at me. Stop daydreaming and repay the money. Qin Shiqing naturally didn't believe his lies and reached out her hand in frustration. Ah, it's a bit noisy. What are you saying? I can't hear you clearly. 20 yuan. We're almost late for school, we need to hurry up. Don't pretend to be garlic. Why don't I give you 10 wealth codes and just give them back? Maybe 5 million is among them. I don't want it. Upon arriving at number 2 middle school, as soon as they entered the classroom, all their gaze fell on them in unison. No matter where Qin Shiqing appears on campus, she will always be the focus. However, Su Zelin became the focus this time. His changes are too great, his entire appearance is completely different. Having shed her non-mainstream image of being sharp-eyed, Su Zelin has now taken the lead in fashion, becoming a mature and stylish man. Today, he is wearing the new outfit in the style of the Island Academy, lacking a bit of frivolity, and adding a bit of quiet and cool. It has a strong visual appeal to the male lead Jiang Naoki from the once popular island campus idol drama, Prank Kiss, and his character, by Yuan Chong, also has the same temperament. This outfit is just right, trendy yet not too forceful, making it exaggerated. Wow, Su Zelin is so handsome today. The girls have straight eyes. The boys, on the other hand, were filled with envy and jealousy, especially the class monitor Zhao Mingxian, who felt even more resentful in his heart. How could heaven give a bird like Su Zelin such a good face? Isn't it just me, a boy with excellent character and education, who deserves it? Good friend Lu Haran also widened his eyes, and after a while, he tentatively asked, Zelin, is that you? Su Zelin raised an index finger at the edge of his mouth. Shoo, don't make a sound, let me be a quiet and beautiful man. The quiet handsome man couldn't pretend for long, but Su Zelin remembered something and took the initiative to break the silence. Mouse, let me help you cook this week. Can you help me cook? This statement was a bit abrupt, and Lu Haran couldn't touch his head. What I mean is, let's have a meal together, you pay, I'll do it. This is the best way that Su Zelin can think of to solve his livelihood this week. After all, he is now penniless. Qin Shiqing has money. The Qin family also gave her a considerable amount of food expenses, and she was very frugal. All the savings and New Year's money were deposited into the bank, and she had her own small vault. The problem is, she saw with her own eyes that she had bought lottery tickets with food expenses. If she didn't report it when she went back, she would be grateful. How dare Su Zelin ask for a loan from her? Besides, I haven't paid back the 20 yuan I bought from the lottery last time. There are so many people in the class, it's not without good relationships, but it's not easy to borrow a whole week's worth of food expenses. After all, in this era, most families are not wealthy, and food expenses are usually barely enough. If there are more, we can only buy some snacks and drinks. Finally, Su Zelin thought of Lu Haoran. Ji family background is also poor, and the meal expenses are limited. But helping him cook by himself is different. With the serene beauty of a beautiful man in his prime, as well as his deep friendship with the cafeteria lady, dividing a meal into 2 parts can still easily fill his stomach. Zelin, did you use your meal expenses to play the horse racing machine again? Lu Haoran was very familiar with his desk mate and immediately thought of something, but quickly overturned his speculation. No, Zelin arrived at school with Qin Shiqing. With Qin Shiqing staring at him, he couldn't have gotten into the arcade halfway. I bought some wealth codes, don't worry, I will soon be able to take you to eat delicious and spicy food. Wealth code. Lu Haoran was puzzled. He bought lottery tickets and spent all his living expenses. Qin Shiqing turned around and said angrily. Lu Haoran suddenly realized. Zelin, this kid, likes to beat around the bush when speaking. Su Zelin, you're really good at playing. You even bought lottery tickets with all your living expenses. Tang Yen couldn't help but turn around and complain roast. Su Zelin patted the table and said, Little Swallow, do you have the attitude of speaking to a quiet and beautiful man like you do? Can you show some respect to the handsome guy? Cut it, come on, it's just you. Despite that, Tang Yen had to admit that Su Zelin was indeed slightly surprised when she first entered the door. However, Little Swallow will not be swayed by masculinity. It is absolutely impossible for her to bow down in front of Su Zelin. Su Zelin shamelessly reached out his hand and said, If you lend me a little money, I'll forgive you. Get lost. If the money is lost, it's okay to say so. Take it to buy lottery tickets. Sorry, sister won't help. Oh, woman. Su Zelin sneered, his gaze seeming to have seen through everything. Men and women only want to pass on the family line, and men are the true love. The ancients never deceived me. He leaned on Lu Haoran's shoulder and said, Indeed, mice are the best for me. It's okay, there will be bread, milk, everything will be there. Mouse, I'll put on my face, you bring on the money. With the friendship between my brother and the cafeteria lady, 1 meal is enough for the 2 of us to eat. Lu Haoran's face was like a bitter gourd. He doesn't mind sharing difficulties with good friends. It's like having a meal with 2 people, it always feels a bit embarrassing while farting. Many people suddenly looked out of the classroom. A charming girl stood at the door with a plastic bag in her hand, her watery peach blossom eyes staring straight at Su Zelin's seat. That girl, she's here again. It seems like a high school sophomore named Huang Panpan, who has passed love letters to Su Zelin several times and always comes over to deliver things on Sunday evenings. Why don't I have girls like me? How could Su Zelin be so handsome? Isn't being handsome enough? It's really unreasonable. End of this chapter. Chapter 9. Primary School Girl's Personal Diary. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The source has no content or has errors. Chapter 10. Harvesting Little Meat. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 10. Harvesting Little Meat. Qin Shiqing, Tang Yen. Lu Haoran is very strange. In theory, it's not yet time for them to come to the cafeteria to cook. Die to save face and suffer. Qin Shiqing placed a 50 yuan bill in front of Su Zelin and said, Let's not do it again. Su Zelin's eyes lit up and without hesitation, he put it into his pocket. He doesn't want Lu Haoran to accompany him to go hungry either. With this 50 yuan relief, there's no need to rub around anymore, at least this week can be very comfortable. I take back what I said last night, there is still true love in the world. Su Zelin immediately changed his face. Tang Yen sighed, she had already sensed something. Sure enough, Shiqing's heart has softened. After all, I was a childhood sweetheart and couldn't bear to see death without saving. Let you gamble, you deserve to starve to death. Tang Yen snorted coldly. She hates gamblers the most. What are you gambling on? Lottery is issued by the state, is it legal? This is called, getting rich legally. Are you questioning the policies of our wise and great country? Su Zelin put on a big hat. You have the most crooked reasoning and even become rich. Don't lose all your underwear. After seeing Qin Shiqing borrow money, Tang Yen had no intention of leaving and sat down across from her. This is a dining table for 4 people, and next to her is Lu Haoran. The little mouse, who has never eaten with a girl on the same stage before, feels a bit awkward, with its buttocks like it's sitting on a thumbtack, and its boss feels uncomfortable. Tang Yen quickly noticed the lunch boxes of the two and asked in surprise, "This is 1 dish of rice. Did you make 4 liang and 4 meat and 3 vegetables?" Last night, she also heard about Su Zealand's plan to grab a meal, which is why she asked this question. No, Lu Haoran comes from a poor family, and every meal of 4 liang and 4 meat and 3 vegetables will definitely be difficult for him. Besides, if the meal card is really so abundant, why bother sharing a large box of meals equally? Everyone should go and get 2 liang of rice and 2 meat and 1 vegetable dishes, which would be great. No, this is 2 meat and 2 vegetables, Zelin made it. Lu Haoran is an honest person, to be honest. Puff, is this a separation of 2 meat and 2 vegetables? Tang Yen said directly, Su Zelin, if I didn't know what your family does, I would suspect that one of the cafeteria ladies is your mother. What are you talking about? That's the cafeteria lady. Su Zelin is displeased, he doesn't allow others to say that about his parents who provide food and clothing. You're amazing. Tang Yen completely swallowed it. Auntie can even be called big sister, no wonder others are willing to give him so much. Okay, this thick-skinned face is worth an extra 2 meat and 1 vegetable. Little Swallow has also seen Su Zealand's methods. Su Zelin wolfed down and shaved a few bites, and the meat in the lunch box was almost gone. He usually eats a lot, which is definitely not enough to satisfy him. He glanced around and quickly spotted the target. The spoon lightning fast reached towards Qin Shiqing's lunchbox, and without hesitation, he scooped up a few pieces of fried pork belly and said, "Wow, Qin Shiqing, how little meat are you? Give me some to eat." Tang Yan's eyes stiffened as she looked. Is there such a naughty operation? Borrowing money is not a big deal, but actually picking up pieces of meat from someone else's bowl. This is like taking an inch to advance, hitting a snake with a stick. Oh my goodness, Shiqing, why didn't you let such a shameless person starve to death? It can also be considered as eliminating harm for the people. Lu Haoran was also sweating profusely, and he felt that his desk mate was too much. But Qin Shiqing remained calm and probably had long been accustomed to the villainous behavior of the gangsters. Su Zelin, I asked if you could order some face. Qin Shiqing is not in any good condition, but Tang Yen has gone berserk with her eyebrows and eyes raised. What's wrong with this? Qin Shiqing doesn't eat fat. When she was in elementary school, I used to help her eat the fat, which was a shameful waste. Besides, she has a fat-prone constitution, and I'm doing it for her good. Su Zelin spoke eloquently. Su Zelin, your tongue is invincible. Tang Yen stared for half a day, realizing that she might never be able to win Su Zelin through a lifetime of bickering. The difference in face is not in one dimension. Su Zelin extended his tongue to lick the greasy corner of his mouth and said, "Do you want to try it? Go to hell." Tang Yen second understands. The honest man Lu Haoran looked bewildered. What code language are they talking about? Su Zealand's pair of thief eyes began to patrol again, this time drifting towards Tang Yan's lunchbox. I eat fat. Seeing the unfavorable situation, Tang Yen quickly held a bowl to protect her food. Little swallow, I see that you also have a tendency to gain weight. You really can't eat so much fat. You don't have to share it with me, why don't you give me some mice? Su Zelin proposed a suggestion. I don't need it, I don't need it. Lu Haoran waved his hand eagerly, his face turning red. What is this? Thanks to Zelin, he can say it. There's no way for girls to share food with boys in public, only you can do it. Although the little swallow's meat couldn't be harvested, it's okay. Is there still meat in Qin Shiqing's bowl? Su Zelin rudely removed all the remaining stir-fried pork belly from Qin Shiqing's lunchbox. Shiqing, why didn't you eat fatty meat just now? Tang Yen is very puzzling. Just now, the cafeteria lady heard me wrong and couldn't leave. Qin Shiqing responded calmly. Did you hear me wrong? How did I see that you were referring to the plate with pork belly? No, I'm referring to the plate of eggs next to it. This way. Tang Yenrua was thoughtful. Watching this scene one after another, the boys were envious. They also wanted to do it, but could only think about it, because not everyone is Su Zelin. After all, I and Qin Shiqing are not childhood friends. Even childhood sweethearts may not have such thick skin. One of his eyes was about to catch fire. Today, Qin Shiqing was having dinner a bit early, and Zhao Mingxian, who felt strange, followed him. He usually deliberately waited for Qin Shiqing's meal time to quietly follow behind, but he didn't dare to get too close. Usually, he just sat far away. After all, his confession had failed, and his intention should not be too obvious. Now it's okay, I can only take a few glances at the goddess from afar in secret. She's sitting at the same table as other boys, and that damn Su Zelin just reached into her lunchbox to pick up meat chunks. Isn't this equivalent to the indirect one? Lang Lang Qianquan, Zhao Zhao's sun and moon, how could such a scoundrel exist in the world? Is there any natural reason or royal law? Zhao Mingxian inexplicably felt that he had green hair on his head. As long as Qin Shiqing showed a hint of anger, he immediately rushed over and buttoned the entire lunch box on Su Zealand's head. Even though Su Zealand's fists are powerful, he is not afraid. In the name of the class monitor, I represent class 2 of grade 3 to punish this disciple and protect the goddess from blasphemy. This is justice. However, after observing for a while, Zhao Mingxian was disappointed to find that the person involved, Qin Shiqing, had no response. In this way, he became nameless and could only sulk alone. End of this chapter.